So today I'm here with my roommate Ray, and we're going to be talking all about reserve. You guys also asked me questions on Instagram, so we will be answering those. So if you guys are interested, just keep on watching. So like I was saying, this is my roommate Ray, if you want to say something about yourself.
Hey guys, my name is Ray, I'm Nina's roommate, and it's amazing to finally be a part of her channel.
Yes.
Because I've subscribed. I was one of her subscribers even before training. I watched her videos as she was applying to other airlines. Yeah, like it was so, like the other day I told her that I watched like her United face-to-face interview, and
we were laughing.
Yeah.
That video was so bad because the lighting. I was like in the balcony and the sun was setting, but it was so useful information.
And it was also amazing because like on the first day of training, like Nina was one of the first people I met, and we sat next to each other on the bus on the way to the training center. So it's amazing how like I was one of her subscribers, and we went to training. Yeah, now we're roomies. So I think it was meant to be, and I'm so happy to be a part of this video.
So yeah, we really wanted to give you guys a lot of information about reserve, so grab your drinks, grab your snacks, because this might be a long video. So pretty much what a reserve flight attendant is pretty much being on call.
Yeah, you're basically on call for the company, so you're at the company's will. You're given a set schedule of when you'll be available to the company, and you have a set amount of days off. So for our company, every reserve month we have 12 days off, which you bid for, and then the rest of the days off you're basically at the company's disposal.
Yes.
So you don't really know where you're gonna go, what you're gonna do. You have really no control over your schedule or your time. But with our reserve system, now that we are experiencing straight reserve, so being on reserve for like multiple months at a time,
yes.
We have a little bit more power or control over like the stuff we can bid for. So we'll go into more explanation about that, about how our company's reserve system works and how we're trying to make it work for our lives.
So for those of you who aren't aware of this, we did start off coming straight out of training 1 month on, 1 month off, meaning 1 month we had a line and we knew our schedule, the next month we had reserve. But we are now on straight reserve for 6 months. So from January till about June, we'll be on straight reserve, and then we'll be back on to having a line, having reserve, having a line, having reserve.
The one-on-one off rotation.
Yeah, one-on-one off rotation. But the new hires who are going to be going to training and then graduating this year, they'll be on straight reserve for 1 year, and then one-on-one off.
And when we were going to training last year, we had no idea about straight reserve because of what the company had agreed upon a few years ago, and not even our like instructors knew anything about the straight reserve that we would be on. So we were just kind of as surprised as the rest of the other students. And don't be surprised. Now, if you're watching this video and you're going to go to training or you're interviewing, don't be surprised if you're going to be on straight reserve.
You have to be flexible.
You really have to be flexible, and it's a little hard because having a taste of a line is amazing. Like we fly a lot. We like to fly a lot.
We've been to so many places in just the few months that we had a line.
We're based in New York, so we got to work a lot of transatlantic flights, a lot of international flights. So like in October of last year, we traveled everywhere. It was awesome. Yeah, and so having that taste, that freedom, the control to choose whatever trips you want to fly, how many hours you want to fly, it's hard on reserve because you don't have that.
It is. So right now, being on reserve, we are guaranteed 75 hours of pay. So if we work 20 hours, if we work 5 hours, if we work 75, we're guaranteed those 75.
So it doesn't really matter how many hours you work, you're still guaranteed 75. Guaranteed that you don't break it. You don't have any missed trips. You do as you don't call out. You do as you're supposed to do as a flight attendant during your reserve month. You get those 75 hours. And then on your days off, you can pick up trips. Like last month, like in January, I picked up 20 hours on top of my 75. So I'm getting paid for 95, but only worked like maybe 50 hours.
Yeah, and for myself, I only picked up a 2-day Tampa trip on my day off, so that was worth about 10 hours. So last month, on my first month of reserve being straight reserve, I only worked about 3 days.
3 days, yeah.
3 days, plus the 2 days that I picked up on my off days. So a total of 5 days for the month of January. And it is now the month of February, and I only worked 1 turn.
I only worked 1 turn as well. It is now, what is it? It's January, no, it's February 10, and we've only worked 1 day.
Yeah.
And I haven't been scheduled any standbys or anything.
So I'm a little bit crazy.
It's a little, yeah. I am a hustler. Like I have, like before being a flight attendant, I had 2 jobs, and I'm not used to standing around not doing anything. Like I'm used to busting my butt, working a lot, and so being on reserve is kind of a challenge for me. Yeah, like I have to find new hobbies, maybe get a side hustle. I don't know.
Yeah, well, Lewis actually told me yesterday, he like kind of inspired me, because I kind of complained about it. I was like, man, I've been so bored being on reserve, not being able to like go travel for work or whatever. He's like, people would kill for all the time that we have.
That's true.
Like people, he's like, you know, take the time to do what you want to do. Like he's, you know, training for marathon and like learning another language. So it's like,
he's learning Italian.
Yeah, so like take that time that we have to like do something. I don't know, and I have YouTube, which is nice, but just think about how much time we have and how much people would like kill for that time.
It could be a blessing in disguise. You know, since it is the new year, a lot of people like making goals about like their fitness, so maybe they join a gym.
You can like read more.
Catch up, like binge watch on your favorite shows. I know I've been doing that. And so we're based in New York. So we're flight attendants based in New York, and the cost of living is very high. So,
too high.
So like when we're working, I like to fly high time, meaning that I like to work on average around 100 to 115 hours a month. And so with reserve, you're basically restricted to the amount of hours you can work, and that can be a little bit of a hardship because you know, New York, like I said, is a very expensive city to live in
compared to like Dallas or Charlotte.
And it's kind of not too similar to where I'm from. If you haven't guessed already, like I'm from Hawaii, so the cost of living is relatively high. But you know, as a first-year flight attendant away from my family, I'm on my own. Like it's a lot of expenses, so I like to work a lot. And you know, being on reserve, you don't make that much, and so it can be a very humbling experience. And if you don't know how to use money wisely or know how to budget, this can be a major challenge, especially as a first-year flight attendant. Try not to go crazy and go clubbing every night. And try to be financially like responsible. And
people always ask, I'm sure people, you get it too, like they always want to know, like, how do you do it? How are you only, you know, flying less than 10 days a month? Like, how can you afford it? And it's doable, but it's doable with, you know, restrictions of not being able to just go on a shopping spree or on your layovers, you know, go out every single night or whatever. You just have to budget. Right,
or you know, go grocery shopping, learn how to cook and meal prep. If you're able to work domestic trips where you can bring food, do that.
So as for a reserve schedule, so when you're on a call, we used to be on call for 24 hours, but now with our new system, we're on call for 12 hours a day. And there's different wraps.
There's different wraps, so it's like it's a reserve availability period. What wrap are you on, Nina?
I'm on wrap D tonight, so that's 5 p.m. to 5 a.m.
I'm currently on wrap A. It's from 2 a.m. to 2 p.m. And since we are living in New York, we have a 3-hour call out. So if someone were to, this crew scheduling were to call us for an assignment, we have 3 hours to get to the airport. For other bases, it's 2 hours if you're working out of one airport. So it's the worst scenario would be like, on reserve, I've had them call me at 2 a.m. for a Newark trip. It takes me literally like 2.5 hours to get to Newark from our place in Queens. And it's hard. It's hard because then you're not really reimbursed for the transportation costs. You're never getting that time back from commuting. And that's another struggle too. Like when you're on reserve, you want to, you know, spend your money wisely. either thinking like, am I going to eat? Am I going to take an Uber? Or am I like going to try to make it to work today? It's a little bit of a struggle.
And even though whenever we're on call, for the most part, we can tell if we're gonna work that day or not. For example, I knew for sure that I wasn't gonna work the past few days because I had what's called a click. So pretty much whenever crew scheduling assigns you a trip, they give you a click. So you want clicks.
Right.
Clicks are important. So because I had one click, my name went at the bottom of the list, and I pretty much knew that I wasn't going to be called. So I was able to, get out of the apartment and go do errands.
Yeah, and so far this month I have no clicks. And so like my name is pretty much near the top of the list. But
they still haven't called you.
No. Okay, so
visited.
My friend Alexa, my bestie from Hawaii, she came to New York this week to celebrate her birthday, and so I was so nervous because I was on call for 3 of the days she's here. I wasn't called for a single day she was here.
And he went out to the city.
I went out to the city every single day to celebrate with her, and she's been gone for like 3 days, and I still haven't been called. It's crazy how I was able to escape reserve and crew scheduling this week.
And honestly, I think it's because we're based in New York and it's such a junior base, because if we were in like Miami or Charlotte, we would be used like every single day probably.
Yeah. So that's another positive of being based in New York. It's super junior based.
So junior.
So in terms of the flying that you could get on reserve, you could be flown to international destinations. I've known a few people who've gotten Buenos Aires and Rio de Janeiro this month, so it can be pretty amazing. What like trips have you been on, like on reserve, like amazing trips?
None. Tampa?
I mean, I've been, like one time they called me to do Buenos Aires, and that was pretty cool.
I haven't gone international.
On reserve?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, actually, no, they sent me to London, but I had aggressive bid for it.
Okay, but still, it counts as a reserve.
And honestly, any trip on reserve that's not like an early sign-in and a long layover, if I have a long layover, that's good for me. Another thing about reserve is you can be on call at home, or you can be on call at the airport, which is what we call standby. For the most part, we're assigned 2 standbys a month. And
everybody is supposed to be assigned 2 before they get assigned a 3rd, but
you never know.
The case.
Standby is when you're sitting at the airport for 6 hours.
Sometimes 4, depending on the base.
But you're only getting paid for like 5 of those hours.
You're basically waiting to be assigned from crew scheduling. So at the last minute, crew members could call in sick. There could be like operational issues where crews could go illegal, and so you have these flight attendants waiting like on standby. They're in uniform or ready to be used at any time. But while you're not really, doing anything, you could just, sleep. You could watch movies, eat. I'm a little too paranoid, so I don't fall asleep.
I pretty much sleep every time.
But yeah,
or I just relax because I don't know. There's nothing really much that you can do.
No,
I usually bring my laptop. Do you?
Sometimes I watch movies. Like I watch Netflix. But
it's the time go by faster.
And you get paid to just basically chill out. So some people bid for standbys. So for sure, if you're like a commuter, standbys are great because you're guaranteed hours and you'll be at the airport, and it'll work out.
Now let's get into some of the questions that you had asked me on Instagram. I did a poll, and one of the questions that you guys asked was, what happens if you get a missed call? So if crew scheduling calls you at 5 in the morning and you didn't call them back within the 15 minutes.
You overslept. Girl, you messed up.
You messed up.
Yeah.
For our company, and we can only speak about our company, that's considered a missed trip, which isn't good. But you have to call them back, and you can tell them you want to be back on call, which this actually happened to me. I asked to be back on call, and then I ended up getting a trip right away, so my guarantee was restored instead of me losing that time from the 75 hours.
Yeah, say like for example, they call you for a trip that was worth 10 hours, and you fail to call them back, or you are late for signing in for that trip. So those 10 hours are deducted from your 75-hour guarantee.
Which is not a lot to begin with.
No. So then your guarantee goes down to 65 hours. And so regardless if you like do well for the rest of the month, you're only going to get paid for 65, which is still very, very small.
Yes.
Yeah.
Another question is, how far in advance do you know the days set aside for reserve? So we pretty much know our schedule about a month, right? A month before?
Yeah. So for our company, the bidding for our schedule is pretty much the same. So on the 10th of every month.
So today's the 10th.
We will start bidding for our schedule. Since we're on straight reserve, the only thing that we really can bid on is our days off. Yeah. So we know them. The days go by pretty quickly in terms of like when to bid. But that's the only thing we have control over.
And because we're in New York, which is a really junior base, I feel like for the most part we get the days off that we wanted. We were transitioning into a new system of how we bidded for our schedule, and for this month, and I was really nervous because this is my birthday month, and I really wanted some days off at the end of the month, and surprisingly I got off all the days that I had asked for.
She got all the days she asked for. Not like me though, my reserve month was all over the place. Maybe
next time.
I will need to do better, yes. It's my birthday next month, so I need to do better.
The next question, if you want to fly a lot, can you pick up trips? I'm about to get this job and I just want to fly, girl. Same. So I feel like before January,
before this new system took in effect.
Yes, it was very, very easy for us to pick up trips on our off days, last minute. What we call our system, what is it? Crew portal? Just like ETB.
ETB, yeah, the trade board.
The trade board where we were able to pick up trips. There were so many trips that you could choose from. You know, like I said, like last minute, the day before, a week before, it was so easy to pick up. Now, there's probably no trips to pick up for this month.
It's really bad.
It's crazy.
Because of the restrictions, the legalities, we can't pick up until like we're done with our reserve assignment. So like, for example, if I tried, like tomorrow is my first day off, like legit day off. So I'm good for the next 2 days. And if I were to pick up like a 2-day trip, I'd have to sign in at a certain hour, like after a certain hour, and then I'd have to get back before a certain hour. So you're really restricted. And if that doesn't work out, then you can't work the trip. And there's only, like Nina mentioned, there's only so many trips that are available. And if that's the only thing that's available in that time, you're basically SOL. You can't really work it.
So for the most part, we've been working our 75 hours plus like maybe a little bit more. I think it'll get better. Hopefully by next month there will be more trips that people are dropping. But everyone seemed to be working their trips and not dropping their trips. Another question, how does reserve work if you're a commuter? So we both are not commuters, and I'm not gonna say I never will be a commuter, because who knows in the future, but shout out to all the commuters, because that life is tough. Because you have to commute in the day, pretty much the day before you are working.
On call.
And when you're on reserve, for the most part, like we're at base and we know we're not going to be used, so we can, you know, go out of our apartment and do whatever. But for people who don't live here, it's kind of sucks because you have to be here when you're on call.
Like I've seen people, like senior mamas at the airport, they're basically living at the airport during reserve because they don't live in New York. So and they've been doing this for years. I can't imagine having to do that.
I can't even take a nap in the airport. I don't know if people live there.
Yeah, like they have families, you know, and lives and husbands back home, and it's just to juggle. Like I can see why a lot of senior people don't like being on reserve, because they can't really, you know, plan their lives. When they have a line, they can plan when to go home, when they can go to work. For the most part, people like to block their trips together, so they can only commute in like one time and then leave at a certain time. And with reserve, you just never know when you're going to be used, if you are going to be used.
Mm-hmm.
So as a commuter, as a new hire and a commuter,
It's not recommended.
Yeah, you have to do what you gotta do.
Yeah,
if you
people
feel,
do it. It's doable.
Yeah, like if you feel like financially you need to live at home, live where you feel you're most comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're a new hire, we suggest you live in base.
Get a crash pad.
Yeah. Another thing, she'll link to you the crash pad video that I was also a part of.
Yes.
In our experience, it was a terrible experience.
Yeah.
But it's also affordable, so you take the good with the bad.
Yeah.
But you gotta do what you gotta do to make sure you're in base, that you don't have any missed trips, that you're reliable. And that's the thing with this job. As a flight attendant, you have to be flexible. You're not gonna get your way 100%, and that's the thing with reserve. It's a very humbling experience. You know, you're gonna work some really crappy trips, and some amazing ones, and it'll be your time. So you have to be really patient with it, and reserve will go really well.
This was a question that was kind of general, wasn't based on reserve, but do flight crews stay the same or do you switch often? So for the most part, we work with different people every trip. There has been a few trips where I've worked with the same person, which is nice because you're like, oh, I remember you from such and such trip. For the most part, you work with different people, but when you have a line, you're able to buddy bid and bid with other flight attendants. So if everyone keeps their schedule the same, doesn't drop any trips, doesn't call out sick, you could potentially work with the same people for that entire month.
Yeah, in my experience, whenever I had a line, I would drop all my trips. So I'm so non-committal.
Yeah.
So it would be kind of a shame because, like, who knows? Maybe I could have, like, you know, had a really good relationship or friendship developed with some of my other flight attendants. But I like working with different people.
Yeah.
You get to learn so many different things from flight attendants who, you know, are young, old, have so many different experiences, are fun, more outgoing.
You literally meet some of the most amazing people working.
And so, like, it would be like a nice treat when you are, you know, when you get to work with those same people again. We are in New York, so we have about like 2,500 flight attendants in our base. So it's kind of rare to work with the same people, but it has happened. I've worked with the same flight attendants before. It's very rare though.
And the last question that I was asked was, is your airline hiring?
Currently, our company has stopped the application online, but they are still doing the hiring. Like they're still doing interviews, watching video interviews, sending people to the training center for the face-to-face interviews. So if you're in the process, good luck to you. It's a pretty amazing journey that you're going to be on, and I hope you stick with it. And if you have any more questions for Nina, you know, she'll be here to answer.
I'll link down our Instagrams. You guys can go ahead and ask us any questions. So I heard that the first training date for the new hires for this year is February 25th.
1901!
Woo! Seniority. Come to New York.
Come to New York, yes.
So yeah, congrats to you guys. I vlogged throughout training, so if you guys want to check that out, everything is linked in the description box. Well guys, that's all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed all of this useful, important information. Good luck again to all of the interviewees. And make sure you guys give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe as well and turn on the post notifications. And I'll see you guys next time.
Aloha.
I got it. I want it. I got it. You like my hair? She thinks. Just try it. I see it. I like it.
I got it.
Copyright.